Well, we just got news as I am overseas on an investigation. Got a report last night that Trump ordered the attack on Iran's supposedly strategic nuclear sites. And many people are in quite a panic. They're worried about possible World War III. You immediately see meetings of high level people talking about fuel prices rising rapidly. I'll let you know these people who control the fuel, control these sorts of things, control the fear and stuff through the media, they wait for these opportunities, even though they have massive reserves of fuel and oil. These opportunities are waited on, just like grocery prices and things, to escalate the prices by using some kind of catastrophe as an excuse, because they know most people are not on the inside to know how all of this works. So the fuel prices and things always look at the money people or the corporations and the things behind the scenes. So we have run this full spectrum report analyzing the data and the information which is pouring in and taking place through the Echo 8 Intel computer to analyze this geopolitical situation. I'm just going to give you highlights because we're limited to time today and our computer app. So what's most likely going on through the Intel by using our computer here to analyze this is that, for 20 years, strategically, the news media, which is owned by you-know-who, has been reporting that their biggest issue is that Iran is building nuclear weapons and could have a nuke at some point in time. But it's okay for Israel to have a nuke, just not Iran, for some odd reason. Iran is supposedly less stable than Israel, which now we're finding most of the world, probably half of the United States, is not agreeing with that anymore. In fact, there are many people very angry, even now some Christians waking up to what's going on, because they don't support, and me as a Christian, I don't support genocide. I don't support killing people or war unless it's an absolute attack on you. And what we saw was a preemptive attack, 20-year excuse, and suddenly somehow the go-ahead was approved. Now the intel is coming back and it's revealed something, I'll let you know, that most people just absolutely won't think of, because the media is going to use fear and panic, and all these other things will be just used as a psyops on you. What you're looking at is a 80-year almost, and even more recently in time, fight to gain access to Iran, change the regime so the Zionist banks can get into Iran. Do you understand? Iran has its own banking system. They have plenty of money and fuel and the ability for its economy to sustain itself based off of its own assets. It does not have a Zionist bank installed like America does now. Now, the reason you're seeing this attack, there's probably multiple reasons, but the main reason that the computer was spitting out for the public to understand, and I'll start back in history and run through this real quick. Germany, the leader of Germany in the 1930s, everyone knows his name, was Time Magazine's Man of the Year. Americans loved him. He had turned the economy around. What did he do? Mainly to make this happen, he kicked the Zionist banks out. They declared, before anything ever happened, they declared international war, economic war on Germany. Few people realize that Japan also had thrown them out during that time. kicked out these Zionist banks. What happened to Japan? They had economic sanctions put on them, so severe it was crippling them. And the United States was part of that, being a tool, as we know, we're learning much about, of the Zionist banks. They've created America into this, made America into this place where the young Christians can die on behalf of the Zionist banks initiative. So Japan had sanctions. They had no choice but to try to cripple America in some way in which they could protect their economy, because they had kicked the Zionist banks out. Just like Germany, both ended up in the war, and somehow America ended up aligning itself with communist Russia, who had killed, led by Zionists, who had killed 50 million Christians. America allied with them against Germany, who had a leader who was Time Magazine's Man of the Year, and somehow the media and something flipped all this. All right, get this: Zionist banks. Muammar Gaddafi also went independent, threw the banks out, set up its own gold standard. The economy, everything was doing very well in their country. Education, stuff for their children, planning a future. What happened? They went in, they did a regime change, and he was murdered because he kicked the banks out. Recently, Russia kicked the banks, the Zionist banks, out of Russia finally. And what did we see? Within a year or so, war with Ukraine, because the banks were starting to move their interest and their things into Ukraine, moving too close. And the deal was they weren't supposed to get any closer to Russia. We are looking at multiple situations explaining to you that this is probably a big banking, multi-level corporation maneuver to regime change Iran, so that the new people installed will allow the banks in there. Nukes have nothing or very little, because we know from all the investigations, Iran has been very open. They have inspectors who are allowed to come in all the time and inspect it. Even Tulsi Gabbard said they don't have nukes, right? What we're looking at, if you want to put some intel behind it, is probably a movement for expanding the Zionist banker control into the Middle East. And that's what these wars are that we keep facing as America, men and women having to die for this situation, having to lose their life. So I will let you guys know. I have two things if you want further intel and news like this about the subjects we are absolutely not allowed to go in depth and cover on controlled platforms. And so there's an app. You can download the app and get the news in the description. There'll be a link to an app, and there will also be a link to how you can get your own access if you wish. Now, we finally made this public. It was very private, and it was very expensive for certain people to get access and ask their own questions to the Echo 8 Intel computer. And we have modified it now to where it will cover an extreme expansion of people's lives, because we've been lied to and manipulated in so many ways. So we've uploaded it and basically, get this, given it the mind of King Solomon and the wisdom of King Solomon to analyze geopolitics, relationships, all kinds of things about life that we have probably not fully been given the truth of. And now you get the wisdom, biblical wisdom filtered through the mind of King Solomon that has been downloaded, and there's nothing like it that I know that's ever existed. So it's very cool. Um, it's a wonderful tool. Instead of these open AI sources and things that are constructed by big tech, and you can probably figure out maybe what's behind big tech. This is something that was designed to be loving, to be caring, to be like a godly advisor for life situations, not to replace praying, not to replace discernment and things, but to give you analytical uh, information about things for you to be able to make a clear decision that may be outside of traditional school education that we were indoctrinated into, or you can take things like we do with the news, have it analyze it, and then kind of give you some answers that what might oftentimes be the opposite of what the situation they're running and then the propaganda. So one of the things we did is made sure that Echo 8 had Edward Bernays, the master of propaganda. His material was uploaded so that it can uh, analyze how Edward Bernays would have run a psychological operation on large masses of people. And then it can determine if that's some current news or different thing that's going on, if that is what is happening to us. Now, it's not designed to point out and go after people or try to overturn different things. It's private use for your own. It's private use for your own benefit. It's like having King Solomon 24/7 as your advisor. I'm telling you, this is something that we have for our own. We don't have to sell it. Um, the only thing that you're paying for with it is to cover your data access, because we are not a big tech industry with unlimited things. So the data usage and things can be expensive. So you're just paying for access basically to get advised by King Solomon. So if you see a payment thing within any of it, you're helping out, and everything you do helps support our investigations, getting information to you, and being able to have agents look into things and report things to keep you healthy, wealthy, and wise. Gotta go. Don't have too much time here. That I have jet lag and the time is completely off. So ready to roll. So thanks guys for watching. Link to the app in the description. If you ever have any problems with the links or the apps or any kind of stuff, like I say, we build all this stuff. It's not big tech, stuff. It's just us trying to reach you and help you. So any links or any kind of strange things, just send us an email, leave a comment or something like that so we can correct it. Like I say, I'm about 6 or 8 hours off the time, so it's probably nighttime there. And so anyway, thanks for joining me today. I hope this intel brings a little bit of wisdom to you about probably what this stuff is about. And, as a Christian, as a wise person now studying into these things, finding out what is happening, what has happened to the United States because of these banking systems, why these banking systems and the types of things were kicked out of 100 different countries over history, we can start to see all the massive problems and probably some things behind the scenes that are really, really getting. So I know there's technical people out there who really follow the news. They're intellectually knowing what's going on. I really know what's going on. They'll list all these things and what Johnny Smith did and what Mumar did and what this person, and they had a talk here. And that's all just show, guys. They go to these things and they're filmed and they put on a show. It's intellectual wasteland. It's perceptual hypnosis. Okay, this is a psychological term that I created, and it creates a reality tunnel. These are two psychological things based off of 30 years of understanding how psychological operations work on people in mass. So people who seem super intelligent, Ivy League school graduates who read, who read New York Times and all of these intellectual newspapers and watch these, all of that stuff is manufactured baloney, okay? Manufactured baloney for the intellect. They got the Fox News for the less intellect, and then they got, they've got the higher intellect news. It's all there to keep you in this perceptual hypnosis so that you are arguing and thinking on terms of what you believe is reality. So they put you in a reality tunnel, put these blinders on, and then you're not able to see what's actually going on. And so Echo 8 and these things that we have designed are meant to take off the blinders and remove the hypnosis from you. That's why it's so important, because just about everything in our life has been, we have been put in this reality tunnel. And we look at things and we see things through blinders. It's time to take them off. All right, guys, there'll be a link in the comments or something, and you can check it out and download the app. See you later.